Okay, I'm back up, made it. That road has so many deactivation ditches across it, just drives you frickin' crazy. Old deactivated logging road. So maybe I'll do this first. I'll head up into that timber first. Maybe put the camera down right here where I was sitting reading. Same camera I used to videotape up in the corner. Almost looks like the shadow's still there. I don't know, whatever. Here's what it is. I'm gonna hike up there for a comparison. Why? I don't know. But I'll switch the camera around here right now, level it up. Now it's gonna take a little bit. It's not exactly that close. It looks to be, to me, I don't know. It's deceiving. Probably, I'm gonna guess that's 250 yards. My guess. It's the only chance I have to do this. So if the light's not the same as last time, there's nothing I can do about it. It's funny, I just told Sarah what I'm doing and she's like, what the hell are you thinking? So let me rip up there and I'll come back and then I'll do some email shares, all right? All right, there you go, I did it. It looks to be that shadow. It might still be there. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell right now. It looks familiar, but put this mic down here. out of the wind. Pretty windy up here. The bugs are absolutely unbelievable. I have this light shirt. Where I get this? I got this at the wild turkey hunting competition in Kansas, Lacine, Kansas, and it's very light and it's not penetrable for these mosquitoes. And I got my light, apparently called No Tear hunting pants. I put those on even though it's hot, quite hot. And I sprayed down, so I'm good. They're just clouded around looking for a meal. It's unbelievable how many are here. But anyway, so there you go. I walked over there. I can see where I went. I might have had to have gone to the left. Because once I don't have anybody right here to direct me left, right, to get to exactly where that spot is, because everything changes once you get there, right? But anyway, I'm sure the people who are into it are going to have a heyday playing with it. Am I concerned about it? Honestly, no. I'm just not, all right? I guess if I had an honest interest in these things, like if it was like a hobby thing to me, or if I was one of those researcher guys, I'd be all over like a fat kid on a Smartie, right? But I'm not. I've seen these things, I've heard them. I'm good. I'm good. I don't look for them intentionally. I did before, and it didn't end well for me anyway. Well, it did, but it didn't, right? But I'm just not into you guys, all right? So I just did that as a token for you guys. Promise to come up here one more time. This will probably be the last time I can come up here for possibly weeks and weeks, who knows? Day after tomorrow, I'm moving. But I will be back. I'll always be back here in the fall for a month, month and a half, or a couple months at a time. I'll be here sporadically to maintain my trail cameras where I like to do it and leave them on the game trails and monitor everything. So I'm not fully deserting this place. Now, what should we talk about now? Let's just get in some sharing while I'm here, all right? You guys can enjoy this backdrop. So I'm starving. I came up here with an empty tummy, but I didn't want to come up here too late, and I thought that I was coming at the same light angle as when I was here before. I don't know for sure or not. I guess we're going to find out when I get back. So I'm going to go through here. Okay, that's red. So hold on a minute, you guys. Let me get to this. All right. There we go. Mark, this is red. Camp out successful after terrifying experience. All right. Camp out success, I think. Hey, Stephen, thank you. You can use my names. I'm not running for public office in politics. Perhaps I should, as many engineers understand greenhouse gases and the limitations of solar and wind, but I digress. I love the stories, and they have given me courage. You read my story about 7 or 8 months ago, a synopsis of several experiences, including a sighting titled Eastern Washington Sasquatch Experience. At the end of that article, I mentioned how reluctant I was to go camping again due to the unreal fear and certainty that one was in my camp that July 2018. While I still hike, head, and senses on a swivel, I haven't camped again until recently with another buddy. But before I continue, allow me to get folks caught up on the most recent experiences of we retired engineers in Eastern Washington. These bugs are going up my nose. One of ours camped along the Selway River in Idaho in 2019. 4 distinct whistles that came towards and into his camp and finished with a growl. He lost a lot of sleep that night and now owns a cannon classified as a handgun. Another buddy had a sighting in February 2021 while solo duck hunting, jump shooting ducks along the Walla Walla River. He looked upriver to see an upright being of all black color almost 300 yards away, knee-deep in the river, crouched and peering into the river. It turned towards him, appeared to see him, and drifted back into the woods. The river is too high and swift for any human. The figure was taller and thicker than a human. Later investigation found what appears to be an old shelter covered in foliage, but internally supported by 2 vertical posts. It is near that river. It is certainly not a hunting blind, but was built with intelligence, i.e. vertical posts placed structurally. And now for the update of June 2021. My Selway buddy and I went mushroom hunting last month in Eastern Washington. I had mentally prepared myself for the last 3 years to camp out again, attempt communication and not panic. I reasoned that there is no known Sasquatch violence in the area and they could dispatch me if they wish. I was more in hope that I would have a restful sleep and the 2018 experience was a complete anomaly. And behind me, weather was rough, high winds and rain moving in on this high bench. Nighttime temperature was expected to be near freezing. But we found a level spot. Very near was a deep canyon into the Tucanon River drainage. We were the only two up there. Due to high winds, we camped away from the tall trees. My buddy's pickup upwind to my two-man tent. He slept in the truck bed under a camper shell or canopy. He left a cab window open for air. We surrounded the camp with trail cameras. I settled into my tent, up a few times that night to relieve myself. The trail cam caught part of that activity. My CPAP machine was powered by a deep cycle battery. It should have lasted me 2 to 3 days. At about 12:30 or 12:45, I was awakened by a single loud whistle, upwind and at the edge of the canyon below. It sounded like one whistling for his dog. I thought, oh crap, here we go again. I calmed and said, caution that I have 2 guns in the tent with me. Bullpup semi-auto shotgun and a .44 mag. I will not harm you. If you wish to communicate in a friendly way, I'm open to that. If not, please leave me be. I'd like to get some sleep. Sleep is always precious with one sleep. Sleep is always precious with one with sleep apnea. A wave of energy went through me, all hair standing on end. I truly believed in no harm based on my 28 experience. I remembered very little after that attempt to communicate. I do remember the wave went through me 2 more times that night, and during one of them, I felt I was floating and then softly placed back onto my cot. Remember, I was attached to my CPAP mask. Sometime in the night, my deep cycle battery died. At early dawn, I heard a croaking growl twice just outside my tent above my head. I asked it to leave me alone as I needed my sleep. The croaking stopped. Aftermath, we found no tracks in the morning. The one trail cam pointing toward the sound of the whistle stopped functioning at about the same time as the whistle was heard. 7 of its 8 batteries were dead. They were new just a day before, but admittedly, I took a lot of pics and videos due to the wind. But why was one battery good? My buddy confirmed he too heard the whistle but was not impacted any further. And I successfully camped for the first time in 3 years, sort of. I do plan to do again. I do plan to go again, encouraged with the prospect of no harm and another learning experience. But I do think I might have been tagged, or perhaps am more sensitive as some have suggested. There seemed to be no communications with me that I recollect. A few weeks later, my Selway buddy was hunting mushrooms alone in a nearby area when a large rock came crashing through the trees very near him. He knew there was no one uphill and shouted loudly, WTF. Rocks are scarce in that area and the rock throwing ceased. So it seems we can communicate, show respect, just mild fear, do not threaten. I can't say whether some of these strange activities are Sasquatch related, but they do seem to mimic other shared stories. Appreciate you, Steve. You give me the courage to return to the wilds, though I don't plan to camp alone. You have bigger gonads than I, and size matters, my friend. James Neubauer, June 2021. James, good for you, man. Way to go getting back out there. Good work. That's so good. And I hope that other people listening to your account can possibly do the same and mimic what you did. Although I do understand there's numerous people that have had it absolutely annihilated for them and don't even want to drive down a remote piece of highway, let alone go camping or go to a campground, right? And that's really unfortunate, but you can't really blame them. But anyway, I remember one time I came up here last year to film right from here, and I was filming away for a while. I think I was here for over an hour. And then I got up to walk away and something went crashing down through the timber on my left right here, but that could have been anything. But the bears are rutting right now. And you know, I've been up here's the same road. You guys see me read an email, and all of a sudden a bear come out behind me. And I think it was right around the same time people are accusing me of using a green screen. Isn't that funny? I remember one time somebody blew a gasket because, I don't know where I was, I might have been sitting here, and they went, I don't see any clouds moving. The clouds aren't moving. You're using a green screen. You're lying. What else are you lying about? And they just started pulling a snap sandwich. People are funny, man. But anyway, I don't feel any pressure right now, but I definitely look around. But I'm looking around to make sure there's no rutted up dumb as a hammer bears walking up behind me or anything. I've seen a shit pile of bears here. This is unfortunately just behind me in that timber just over the hills where the father-son pair perished here last fall, I think it was. Very sad. And no, I do not know the intimate details of how they died. I don't have a clue, so we'll leave it at that. And please don't put anything in the comments about how they died if you're not a family member directly related to that case, all right? Because the people are upset, they follow this channel, and I'm sure they do not need anybody talking stupid about their passed on relatives, all right? Anyway, what else do we got here? Story about Sasquatch using infrasound on me. All right, let's hear it, my man. Hi, Steve. Love your channel. Appreciate all you're doing. I've had several experiences with Sasquatch, but thought I'd send in one experience that's a bit different than what is normally shared. It's about Sasquatch using infrasound to create fear, dread, and agitation. Before I carry on, let me say one more thing about previous email. Hey, man, thank you so much for sharing that with us, all right? You're a brave dude. And just, go over to Scott Carpenter's channel, other people's channels, and make sure you are absolutely familiar with what you may be cracking open if you go and seek out contact with these beings, all right? Because unfortunately, a lot of times that doesn't end well, okay? So just putting that little heads up. Of course, do what you want, but just keep that in mind, that if you keep pursuing that contact, there is a slight chance, there is always a chance that it's going to be life-altering and not for the better for you, all right? Who knows what you're going to make contact with? I haven't a clue. But thanks again for emailing it in. Make sure you email us again, too, all right? People want to hear it. Now, I spent a week alone in southwest Montana over the Christmas holidays of 2018. I found an awesome-looking cabin and Airbnb to rent up in the timber. I'm an author and needed some downtime, so I was totally psyched to have a week alone in the mountains. I arrived at the cabin. It was gorgeous. It had just been built, and I was the first or second guest. The outside was reclaimed wood, and the inside blew my mind, like an expensive hunting lodge. The owners obviously spent a fortune. After unpacking my things and settling in, my experience began. For no reason whatsoever, I began to feel panic, dread, and disorientation. My whole being was unsettled. I tried to walk it off. Relax, nothing worked. That night I couldn't sleep. I felt like someone was looking in the windows. I'm very confident as a hunter and an outdoorsman, so none of this made sense. After a day and night of this, I could sleep. I was so agitated. I left in my car and went down to the city. The feeling went away immediately as soon as I pulled away in the car. But when I came back to the cabin, it all started again. It was intense agitation. I would walk around the cabin saying to myself, this is crazy, you're feeling this way. This place is awesome. It's exactly what you like. It didn't matter. It's like every cell in my body was rattled. Also, my computer and cell phone would immediately drain of juice when I was back in the cabin. I would plug both in overnight. In the morning they were charged, but upon unhooking them from their power cords, they'd be dead in 10 minutes. But when going into the city, they would work like usual. After 3 days of this, I decided to leave the cabin the following morning. Just eat the money and get away from whatever was going on. And then a thought came to me. I just read an article about Sasquatch and their use of infrasound to confuse, create panic, fear, and dread. I thought, could this be happening to me? These owners had just put a new dwelling in the middle of a forest, and there were others letting me know I wasn't welcome. I felt compelled to go outside and explore. There was about 18 inches of snow on the ground. About 100 yards behind the cabin down in the timber grove, I found what I need to fully understand what was happening to me. There was a perfectly built tree structure with huge footprints leading to and from it. No more than a day old. Amazing. It became super clear to me. I was an unwelcome intruder, and the clan or individual wanted me gone. They did not want the cabin or guests in the area. As I was turning around to walk back to the cabin, I said in a very loud voice towards the deeper woods, okay, I get it. I'll be out of the cabin in 15 minutes. I'm sorry. No worries. Just give me time to leave. At that moment, I became peaceful and calm. I was no longer being zapped or experiencing disorientation and extreme agitation. I knew I was being watched when I said that. So I went back into the cabin, packed my stuff, and was gone. That's my experience. Steve will tell you this. Whatever Sasquatch was interacting with me, I'm appreciative she didn't use other means to get me to flee, like banging on the walls, looking in the window, throwing rocks, or what have you. Infrasound did the trick without the scare tactics. I know exactly how the people that submit these stories to you feel when they say, all of a sudden I was struck with fear, dread, and panic. They are being hit with infrasound. You might want to read up on the effects of infrasound. Military is using it on the enemy. Especially cool is how triggers use it to stun and freeze their prey with great fear and immobilize them. Be well, Steve Shane. P.S. Incredible elk hunting in my area. Wow, Shane. Appreciate that, man. What an amazing experience, huh? The fear and the dread. Wouldn't that be weird if all of a sudden I got that absolute fear and dread and we caught it on video? Like I've done hundreds of these now. And what have I done? 2? I can't remember. I think I got 2 videos for sure. I felt uneasy. One time I left, I think, right? I don't know if there's another one. But that one on Vancouver Island, I was sitting on the log and I'm like, I'm out of here, man. I wasn't feeling dread, but the hair on my neck was standing up and everything went dead silent. Like absolutely dead silent. And I felt absolutely uncomfortable. But I didn't hit terror, dread, I'm gonna die status. I just felt uncomfortable, but I think I'm certain I'm in a little more in tune with my senses than your average person, only due to me exercising my senses alone in these mountains for how many years? How many weeks and months at a time a year? So maybe I picked up on it a little sooner and maybe it's possibly going to snowball into absolute dread, I don't know. But the infrasound, I don't know. The infrasound thing, I haven't experienced it that I know of. A lot of people claim infrasound. I do believe infrasound is a real item, but it would be pretty hard to convince me that infrasound drains batteries. That would be a tough sell to me. I do know David Plottis and his wife experienced we had dinner and you were telling me about they're going up a trail, felt something went off. I don't remember all the details, we were talking so much, but I do remember that their cameras went flatline, died. And when they turned around, came back down the trail, there was a great big stick, poof, drilled in the trail when they came back. And then oddly enough, the juice in their batteries came back again later on. So, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's very confusing. I can't wait to find out for certain what's going on. I do believe we will find out for certain a lot of answers as long as we keep going down this route of everybody talking and sharing. That's the only way. And not giving someone authority and not giving one single person or a group authority on this topic or control of what is read or shared or not. Right? It's working. This is working. All right, now, thanks for sending that in, man. And don't forget, if you come across any other new knowledge that you feel that people can prosper with being shared, get it into me, all right? Night Elker Sabe. Hi, Steve. Love your channel and all you're doing to advance real no BS knowledge. Been following since you started these stories. I backpacked a lot in the Olympics of Western Washington and the Cascades of Oregon. I've heard loud tree knocks at 2 a.m. in the deep forest, far from any road, a large rock hitting wood, and heard several stories from people who have seen or heard these beings. This includes 2 sightings in southern Oregon in 2020. My good friend clearly saw one this summer at 100 yards come out of the trees, 6 to 7 feet tall, dark with near black fur, arms hanging low, came to the lake's edge, then turned, looked at my friend, and quickly walked back into the woods. Another good and trusted friend shared that a couple in southern Oregon has a recent video of 2 of these creatures, but they don't want to share it with the media, etc., because they want to respect and protect the beings from being harassed, hunted, and killed. This friend's sister also seen a female down there as it entered and passed through a clearing on 2 legs, not a bear, at about 4 log truck distance away, she said. It clearly had breasts. On to my question. Elker Sabe. Some years back, 3 of us were camping at 6,000 feet on the flanks of Mount Jefferson, a 10,500-foot peak in the mid-Oregon Cascades. This was August. This was before I came into Sasquatch consciousness. We planned to summit the mountain, or get near the summit early the next morning. The night was dry, clear, cold, and quiet. We were camped in a sparse forest of pine and juniper at the edge of an alpine ridge. About 3 a.m., we woke up to the sound of something stomping the ground in the distance. As it got closer, coming up the ridge to us, say 30 yards, you could hear twigs breaking or small branches at the sound of heavy breathing. As it got closer, the ground started to shake with every stomp. The heaving, breathing, or snorting or grunting of air was loud, and you could tell it was a very large and heavy animal. It slowly came near a tent about 15 to 20 yards away. We lay there and listened, not scared but wary. I remember thinking, that's a big bull elk, and we've camped too close to its trail. In the next minute, it seemed to pass near the tent, then curve away 15 yards, 20 yards, 25 yards, stomping, snorting, cracking twigs or small branches, and then was gone. I fell back to sleep, and so did the others. Steve, we had bushwhacked high up to get up there to do the bivouac, and we're several miles off trail from the Pacific Crest Trail. Behavior-wise, what do you think? Large pissed-off elk, sabe, or something else? Thanks again, John N. in Portland, Oregon. What do I think? I think I have obviously been camped around big game for numerous years. Various situations, right? I've backpacked in, I've had horses tied up, bounced around the bush on bells at night, cabins, slept on the ground. I've slept on the bare ground. Numerous times I've slept around elk, I've slept around moose. As an example, what do game animals do? Especially if the animals are hunted around there. Prey animals do not torment predators in the dark. They just don't. As an example, one time a buddy of mine from Alabama, we were on a fly-in hunt for stone sheep up near, we were about 150 miles east of Dease Lake, dropped off in a very remote place in a small lake. We were camped in the timber about 20 yards away from the lake shore and the game trail on the lake, maybe 15, 20 yards. And you could hear the moose coming in the lake. Kabloosh, kabloosh, kabloosh. There's no wind. And the sound was so crisp. And it's just pitch black, and you're laying in your tent, and he's coming up the lake. I mean, right beside the tent. And as soon as he caught the wind, so remember, thermal air. I think I've told many of you in the past, if you're going to camp in the woods, you always camp on the low side of any game trail because the air sinks in the night, right? So your scent's not going across that game trail all through the night to possibly lure in a 1 in a million encounter with a real pissed off predator. But anyway, there's no way we get below that trail because the trail's right along the lake, so we're on the high side, but that air's sinking. And then the air hit that moose's nostrils right beside me, and you just hear this big blows, shitting itself, and then just 4 legs ripping through that lake in the water. It's so loud. And but I told that story to give you an example of what your typical game animal does when it comes across us in the night in camp. One sniff, I'm out of here. The most nastiest predator on the face of the planet is right here in the dark. I'm out of here. So no, elk don't get pissed off at you. Prey animals do not get territorial with predators, especially in the dark. All right, I'm pretty sure you know what it was, man. Especially if you're emailing us about it here. Your gut already told you what it is. Wouldn't you agree? But anyway, thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate it. Be safe out there, all right? Use your gut. Go with your gut instinct on every single move you make, not only in the woods, but in life, all right?